All right, let's dive right into one of the biggest questions we can ask. What are you? I mean, really, is there some permanent, unchanging soul at your core? Or is that feeling of me that you wake up with every day just a trick of the mind? Today, we're going to explore this by looking at two incredibly powerful and wildly different roadmaps for the human experience. So, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with that big question: what is the self? Then we'll check out a beautiful Persian idea about a perfectly balanced soul. After that, we'll flip the script and look at the Buddhist concept of no self. Then we'll put them head to head to see where they clash. And finally, check out the paths they offer to, a higher way of being. Okay, let's just get right to it. The heart of this whole thing is a question that philosophers have been wrestling with for, well, forever. What is that thing you call I? That sense of being a continuous person from one day to the next. Is there a real, solid you under all the noise? To help us navigate this, we've got two incredible guides. In one corner, we have the 11th century Persian philosopher Naser Khosrow. For him, the whole point was to understand and perfect the human soul. And in the other corner, we have the Buddha, who taught something completely different, that the path to true freedom is to take apart, to deconstruct the very idea of a self. First up, let's travel back to 11th century Persia. We're going to dig into this really elegant idea from Naser Khosrow, that the human soul is this incredible thing defined by its perfect place in the grand scheme of things. So the core of Khosrow's whole philosophy is this concept he called atidal. Now, that basically means moderation or balance. But he's not just talking about, having a balanced diet. He meant that the human soul itself exists in a kind of cosmic sweet spot. It's not pure spirit, but it's not just crude matter either. We're in this perfect middle, and for Khosrow, that is exactly what makes us so special. You can think of it like this. Khosrow saw reality as a kind of ladder. At the very, very top, you have the most subtle thing imaginable: pure intellect, pure spirit. And way down at the bottom, you've got the densest, crudest physical stuff. And where are we humans? Bam, right there in the middle, perfectly balanced between the spiritual and the physical. And he had this amazing physical metaphor to make it all make sense. He'd say, just look at the animal kingdom. Some creatures are dominated by the heavy element of earth, so they're pulled down, crawling on all fours. Others, they're dominated by lighter things like air and fire, so they're pushed up into the sky to fly. But humans, we stand perfectly upright. He compared our posture to the letter Aleph from the Arabic alphabet, which is just a straight vertical line. He's saying our posture isn't an accident, it's a symbol of our soul's amazing inner balance. So what's the big deal about being balanced? Well, this is the payoff. Because we occupy this unique middle ground, the universal soul, the source of all spiritual energy, takes a special interest in us. It's like it recognizes a kinship with us, and it sends knowledge and light our way. This connection is what allows us to become truly wise, truly illuminated. Okay, deep breath. Now we are going to do a complete 180. We're leaving behind the idea of perfecting a soul and jumping into a philosophy that asks a really wild question. What if there's no soul there to begin with? The whole Buddhist tradition kicks off with this pretty startling thought. What if that solid feeling of I that we all have, what if it's not a strength, but actually the root cause of all our stress and suffering? What if the whole thing is an illusion? This brings us to the core Buddhist teaching of anatta, which literally means no self. It's a radical idea that there's no permanent fixed soul or unchanging essence anywhere inside you. From this point of view, you aren't a static object. You're a dynamic process. You're more like a flowing river than a solid rock. So if we aren't a soul, then what are we? Well, Buddhism has a pretty fascinating answer. It says we are a temporary combination of 5 things, called the 5 aggregates. You can think of it like 5 bundles of stuff. You've got your physical body, your feelings, your perceptions like sight and sound, all your mental habits and thoughts, and then just the raw awareness of all that other stuff. And the mind-blowing part is, every single one of these is changing, moment to moment to moment. So the goal in Buddhist practice is to kind of become a scientist of your own mind. You just watch these 5 things as they pop up and fade away. And when you do that long enough, you have this huge realization. None of this stuff is a permanent me. You see a thought come and go and you realize, hey, this is not mine. This I am not. This is not myself. There's this classic Buddhist analogy that makes it super clear. Imagine a butcher who's carving up a cow. He can separate the meat from the bone, the skin from the muscle. He can take apart every single piece. But no matter how hard he looks, he can never find a single part that he can point to and say, ah, there it is, that's the cow. It's the same with us. When you look closely, you find thoughts, feelings, and body parts, but you never find a separate thing called a self. Okay, so now we have two totally different ways of looking at the world. One sees a stable, timeless soul. The other sees a flickering, ever-changing process. Let's put these two worldviews right next to each other and really see the contrast. What's absolutely fascinating here is how this ancient debate in the East totally mirrors a huge argument in Western philosophy. Khosrow's idea of a real, lasting soul, that sounds a lot like the Greek philosopher Plato. But the Buddha's view, that's shockingly similar to the philosopher David Hume, who said that if you look inside your own mind, you don't find a self, you just find a bundle of passing thoughts and feelings. It's substance versus process, stability versus flow. Now, you might be thinking these two ideas are just complete opposites. End of story. But here's the twist. Even though they start from completely different places about what the self is, they both offer a powerful path away from the regular, often frustrating human condition. They're two different maps, but they both point toward liberation. For Naser Khosrow, the way forward is through ilm, or knowledge. The idea is you pursue wisdom, and by doing that, you polish and perfect this amazing soul you already have. You let it shine. It's a path of becoming more fully what you are. For the Buddha, the path is through prajna, which is a different kind of wisdom. This is the hands-on meditative insight that lets you see through the illusion of self. By taking that illusion apart, you free yourself from all the craving and clinging that causes pain. It's a path of letting go. And this wisdom of no self isn't just some theory you think about. It's something you cultivate by using a really practical toolkit for living called the Noble Eightfold Path. It covers everything: how you think, how you speak, how you act, and how you train your mind through mindfulness and concentration. It's basically a complete user's manual for waking up. So let's just boil it down. One path leads to the perfection of a self that's already there. The method is to gain knowledge, and the focus is on what you truly are. The other path leads to liberation from the whole idea of a self. The method is to see through an illusion, and the focus is on what you are not. And yet, here is the beautiful paradox at the heart of it all. Whether you think of the self as a diamond to be polished or a mirage to see through, both of these paths are aiming for the exact same thing. They're both trying to lift us up, to elevate human consciousness way beyond its normal, everyday limits into a much higher, clearer state of being. So this brings the whole question right back to you. When you turn your attention inward, what do you actually find? Is your sense of I a stable, balanced soul just waiting to be lit up with knowledge? Or is it more like a flickering stream of thoughts and feelings, a process you can actually learn to step back from? The answer you find might just define your path. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear what you think. Your support really means a lot and helps me keep creating content for you all. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.